We're having another kind of, I call it an episode, but this is more than an episode. I think it's a conversation. This is Plastic Surgery Uncensored with Dr. Roddy Raban. I'm Monique Marvez. I'm just going to say it. What happens to people's faces? As a woman, sometimes I'm walking down the street and I'll see my reflection in a plate glass window, and who is that grown-up person? Like, we always think that we're going to stay the same forever, and I think in our minds we freeze, but what actually happens?
The reality is that we're constantly aging, and at some point in our life, and it usually happens in our late 30s and early 40s, we usually take our first real look in the mirror and go like, oh shit.
Yes.
What's that? And so, and the reality is that for men and for women, obviously women and men have different psychological components to the way we look at ourselves, but the physiologic changes that a human being undergoes as they age is pretty predictable. And the only thing that varies from one person to the other is some genetics. So in other words, some people have some better genetics than others. 2, lifestyle. Some people live horrible lifestyles and some people live amazing lifestyles. And 3, great plastic surgery. So let's talk about what happens to you as you age, okay?
Okay.
So the first thing that you're going to notice, and it usually happens in your late 30s, early 40s.
That's when you start doing this a little bit.
Yeah. The first thing you're going to notice is 2 things. Usually you see a little bit of brow drop, meaning your brows start to sag a little bit, and you get a little bit of hollowing in your cheeks. So you lose a little bit of baby fat. And in some cases, when you start out with a lot of baby fat, you start to look even better. And there's women who are models who look good in their 20s, but look gorgeous in their 30s and 40s. That's because they have a lot of fat. But if you didn't start out with a lot of facial fat, you hollow in your cheek. And then you're just going to start to notice, and then this happens in women more than men, that when you go to put on a little bit of makeup, you're having a little bit of sag and in terms of your brow and your eyeshadow.
Yeah.
The second thing then you start noting as time goes on, you're going to start to notice a little more hollowing, and now the hollowing is starting to occur around the mouth and around the jaw area. We call that marionetting, and that starts to happen in your mid-40s or so. And then towards your late 40s, you start to notice a little bit of wrinkling underneath your eyelid. So you start out with the brow first, and then you get a little eyelid excess, and you might start hollowing under your eye now too. And when you hollow under your eye, what do you notice? Oh my God, I never had these bags before. So the bags look like they're popping out when also there's some hollowing. And then the final phase, and that basically occurs from 50 to 80 and so on, is you start to generate excess skin in your neck region. So that's usually how people tend to age. Now, whether or not that occurs in that exact order or whether or not it occurs at that exact age is to be determined, but pretty much that's how it goes.
Yeah, it's not jowl day.
Right, yeah. You don't just wake up one morning and you end up having a turkey neck. So then the question question then becomes, what are our treatments? And it shouldn't surprise you that the treatment should also be incremental. I think the biggest issue we're having now is either on one end, people are pulling out bazookas to kill an ant. So you're a young girl and you're freaking out and you do something really drastic. Or conversely, you pull out a butter knife to attack
a big steak
to kill you're being attacked by a bear. It's not going to work.
No.
So you're an older age woman and you're in your, let's say, late 60s, and you want to do some kind of cockamamie laser lift and think that that's going to fix your neck. So what are the treatments? So we start incrementally. I think filler and Botox, amazing. And I can really do magic with Botox and filler, but you need to be a good candidate for it. So if you have a mild degree of hollow or a little bit of sag, it works amazing. So in your 30s and 40s, it's really a powerful tool, and you really shouldn't need much more than that. The next phase is there are some treatments, although very few. The overwhelming majority of non-surgical skin tightening, so let me repeat it again, it's very important you hear this. 99%
that's big
of non-surgical skin tightening devices do not work.
So let's be very specific. Can you call them out by name, or is that like
no? It doesn't. There's nothing to call out. They're all literally
like when they say that they're going to do these ultrasound things.
Listen. There doesn't need to call them out because they change every week and every month there is. There's only one device on the market that has FDA approval, and that's called Ultherapy.
Okay. And what does that do?
And it's ultrasound energy that heats up the muscle layer underneath the skin, thereby which tightening the muscle, which is then lifting the skin, not tightening the skin.
Okay.
And even that device works okay.
Not great.
In other words, it's not wow. And it shouldn't be used in cases where you need a wow. You shouldn't be using L-therapy on a 65-year-old woman with excess neck skin. You use L-therapy in a 45-year-old who's beginning to jowl. So we have Botox filler. Mm-hmm. We have a huge gap and desert in the non-surgical skin tightening world. And then we get to surgery.
Okay.
And of course, surgery is surgery. So it shouldn't be done lightly, but at the same time, there is nothing that's going to take the place of surgery. So when you're having some brow sag and the corner of your brow is starting to touch your eyelashes, the treatment for that is a brow lift. And a brow lift is a small excision that we do in the hairline, whereby which we remove...
Right here?
Right in the hairline, right at the edge of the hair on the side. It's not on the forehead. You can't see it. And through that brow lift, we're tightening up the skin and removing some, which pulls up the corner of your brow.
So that's a late 40s to 60. When you're talking about
Correct.
time frame, late
Correct.
40s to 60s
Correct.
when you're going to start that situation.
Correct. Now, be careful with a brow lift, right? Because if you pull the middle of the brow up, you look surprised. So people said, I don't want to look surprised. The reason you look surprised is because the middle of your brow, the area between your nose, shouldn't be elevated. It's the tail of your brow or the corner of your brow that should be elevated, not the middle of your brow. Okay. Then the excess eyelid skin above and below, pretty straightforward. We're going to remove a little bit, underscore little bit, of skin in the upper eyelid. It's called a pinch blepharoplasty.
Pinch blepharoplasty.
Pinch blepharoplasty. So blepharoplasty means eyelid skin removal.
Right.
And pinch refers to a pinch.
A touch.
Because if you remove too much, what happens?
You look kind of sunken.
Sunken is the bottom eye. What happens is you can't close your eyelid.
Oh.
Right? You can't close the garage door. You close it too tight. And then you have a really deep hollow under your eye and it looks super
And that
aged.
really does happen. I've seen that.
Oh, yeah, of course. There's a famous singer, Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers.
And as a man, let me underscore this for all our male listeners. Men and blepharoplasties are like dynamite and a match. If a man's eyelid crease becomes too large, they're immediately feminized. Men should not have a high brow. Men should not have a lot of eyelid visible. Women, on the other hand, different story. The lower eyelid, basically what ends up happening is you have a little bit of extra skin, but usually it's because of puffiness. And that puffiness can be addressed one of two ways. You can either do a little bit of filler under the eye, which I'm a huge fan of when done correctly.
Really?
Or you can remove a little bit of the fat and do some eyelid surgery. Now, eyelid surgery on the lower eyelid, unlike the upper eyelid, is 10 times more difficult. Very tricky.
That makes sense.
So people who walk around and they see all these weird looking eye shapes, it's because they mess with the lower eyelid. And when you mess with the lower eyelid, if it's not done correctly, it's going to change the way you look dramatically. So there are tons of movie stars who did their lower eyelids and then were like literally unrecognizable. And Kenny, whatever, is one of them.
Rogers, yes.
He did his upper and lowers and he's just like...
Tons of people.
Right. Okay. So then we get to the midface, the middle face. The midface used to be like cheek implants and this and that, the other.
Right.
Bottom line now is some volume. A little bit of either filler or a little bit of fat, again, underscore little bit, can make an amazing difference because the middle of your face should have volume. The middle of your face needs a little bit of youth. When you fill the middle of the face, the nasolabial folds, which everyone is panicked about, everyone talks about the nasolabial folds. The nasolabial folds lift up on their own. I don't fill the nasolabial folds. That's just something I don't do.
So when you fill here, it automatically...
Correct. So the problem is your nasolabial folds are getting deeper because your middle of your face is hollow.
It's collapsing.
Correct.
All right. Now, but jowl, because...
Now we get to the final part.
Yeah, because when a guy is a little jowly, it's not a bad situation.
Well, that's because he covers it with a beard.
That too. But with women, that jawline neck situation.
We hold women to a much higher standard.
Yes, of course we do.
We expect women to look stunning and men to be powerful. So when it gets to there's a trio.
Do we have a nice word for jowl, or is that it?
No, it's purposely ugly because it really represents what it is.
Yeah.
So there's three things you need that happen simultaneously. One, extra neck skin.
Okay.
Sometimes in that is buried some fat. Two, you get a jowl. Jowl is that droopy thing that looks like a little gobstopper that's sitting in your jawline.
Yeah.
And 3 is the marionette. Those 3 things are the same issue. And that
the troika.
Yeah, it's all from the sag of your jaw and your chin. So the things that we do to fix that is as follows. Number 1, if you have a weak chin, if you do a facelift and you don't fix the chin, it's unlikely you're going to get an amazing jaw. So first thing is we got to make sure you have a really awesome, strong chin. Doesn't matter if you're 50, 60, you got to have a strong chin. Second thing is you need a facelift. Now here is the area where I want everyone to pay attention. Marketing. It's all illusions. Facelifts have been around for somewhere like 60 years. The name of a facelift changes every 2 years. We have lifestyle lift, mini facelift, lunchtime lift, a short scar lift. We have 1,000 names because every year or two, some doctor in some area wants to reinvent it and call it his own. They're all the same. Oh, neck lift versus facelift, all the same.
So a neck lift, you can't just go in for technically you can,
No,
but it's not a good.
Because what happens is when you're doing a facelift.
Because that seems to me like you fix the couch, but the rug's still.
No. What happens is when you do a facelift, 80% of why you're doing a facelift is to fix the neck. A facelift is a misnomer. A facelift is a misnomer. It should have been a neck lift to begin with, but we called it
lift. It's like basically everything from your shoulders up, isn't it?
No, it's everything from your neck to your jawline. That's why there's a whole section world called midface and upper face and forehead and whatever. So pay attention. A facelift is the thing that's going to fix your triad, marionette, jowl, and neck. So how do we do a facelift? Is usually an incision that's in front of the ear, meaning right along the ear line itself. You should not see it. It should be hidden in the line of the ear and then swoops around the back. And if you have a ton of loose skin, it also goes down along the back of the neck. So depending on how much skin you have, you open up under the chin and you tie up the muscle separation. Those pesky bands, those bands that you have, they're called platysmal bands, where you repair those. And then you have to fix the muscle layer. So a good old fashioned, really good facelift fixes the skin and the muscle, much like a tummy tuck fixes the skin and the muscle. And so that's the final component to an amazingly rejuvenated face. The key is not the procedures. The key is how much of the procedures. So the difference between looking like gorgeous as what's her name? She's in her probably 70s. She looks gorgeous.
I think Jane Fonda looks great.
Sorry,
Jane Fonda looks amazing.
So the difference between her and the Catwoman is they both had the same procedures.
Wildenstein.
It's the amount of it being done. So if you pull too tight, fill too much, hollow too much, everything looks funky. So it's all about the delicacy of it.
When we come back, I'm just going to ask the question, and then when we come back, you'll answer it. Who determines when to do what? Obviously finances, but I mean, and when you say the delicacy of it, when you sit down and talk to a patient, how do you explain to them, let's work on this, and this? Because at different points in time, you have to decide what you're going to do on the face. On Plastic Surgery Uncensored with Dr. Roddy Raban, I'm Monique Marvez. When we come back, we're going to discuss the nuances of how to keep your face on your face. We're back with Plastic Surgery Uncensored with Dr. Roddy Raban. I'm Monique Marvez. Dr. Raban, you were saying, okay, you've explained all of these different procedures, right. Facelift being a misnomer, and you were talking about 99% of them. Can we go back to like lifestyle lift, this, that, the other, how they're not really effective, and then how do we decide what's effective and when?
So first thing you got to know is that, like everything else, there's a ton of marketing going on. And the marketing is there's these practitioners. Again, unfortunately, a lot of them aren't plastic surgeons, but some of them are, that want your money. So what we're going to do is we're going to make surgery seem affordable, easy, painless, and risk-free. That's the way to get you. When do we do that? We do that late night. We do that in a magazine. We do that on a bus stand. The fact that you're getting your information from a bus stand or late night already tells you a lot. Mm-hmm. The second thing is we're going to give you all these kind of fancy names. So like the lifestyle lift or the thread lift or all these things.
The mini. Everything's mini, tiny,
everything is mini because
no downtime.
Mini makes you feel excited.
Lunchtime.
Mini means you don't have mini risk, mini cost, mini
little tiny cute
outcome.
Cute. So
I'm a big believer of do it right or don't do it at all.
No, you're the maxi guy. Yeah. You are the opposite of mini.
And as far as when to do it is when you're a candidate, when the time is right. You don't go run out and do a facelift in anticipation when you're 40, like I told you anecdotally about that patient who did that and that had horrible outcomes. So you do things when you need them. There's a lot of discussion about doing them before you need them,
Yes.
so nobody can tell.
That's
versus,
like a thing you hear.
So that's all. Let's talk about this urban legend. Of course, you want to
preemptive plastic surgery.
Right. That's all garbage because people say that. You're not going to go at 40 without any neck issues, go get a facelift. What are you lifting? So what you do want to decide is, do I want to do surgery when I'm beginning to have some signs of things, or do I want to wait until I really have to? That is 100% a philosophical issue. Are you the type of person that likes to wait till your gas tank is completely empty because it's a waste of time to go to the gas station and I only want to go if I have to? Or are you the type of person that says, it's half empty, it's a great sale, I mean, the price is affordable, I'm near the school, I have time to kill? That's personality. We all know which one we are. So if you're the type of person that likes to get things done early and you're starting to have a little bit of sag in your eyelids, go get your eyelids done at 45 to 50. If you're the type of person that's like, I don't want to touch myself until I have to, get it done at 60. That's between you and your surgeon. Be careful that you don't go in saying, I want to get something done and you're not really ready for it and someone sells you on it. You also want to make sure that
That's an interesting concept, because I actually had a plastic surgeon that I went in to talk to about something else say, what you really need. And I was so turned off. And
it's the most obnoxious thing ever.
Isn't it though?
If you came in for your nose and I'm like, by the way, I'm noticing your breasts are saggy. I mean, that's right there is like a immediate walkout.
Huge red flag. I left and never went back.
Right. So, and the other thing is, and the thing about it is that
you're not supposed to be a salesman.
No,
in my mind anyway.
So I think the issue that you want to do it when nobody knows is a good idea, and you don't want to have a dramatic change. That I understand. So yes, of course, if you wait till you're 78 to go get a full face rejuvenation, everyone's going to know. It's not that determines whether or not you look natural or not. Dramatic does not equate unnatural. Subtle does not.
Wait. That's an interesting
So listen to what I'm
point.
saying to you. Dramatic does not equate to unnatural.
So if you don't care that other people know that you had plastic surgery at 78, but it's dramatic and natural.
Dramatic means that from where you started to where you ended up is a significant change.
I think everybody wants dramatic.
If you started out as terribly bad, the outcome where you ended up, how that looks determines if it's natural or not. The difference being is that if you do a dramatic facial rejuvenation and you go to the bank and the lady who's never been there doesn't know you, she won't know you had it done because she doesn't know what you look like. Your friends will know that you had it done because you look so much better, but the average person won't know because you look natural. So the two are unrelated.
Correct.
They're separate entities.
They're not mutually exclusive.
Correct. And so to me, it's really, that's really the main gist. To maintain naturalness as far as dramaticness has to do with when you decided to do it.
That's a very good point. So I think most people on some level do want dramatic.
People are
even if they say no.
No, that's the problem. Let me tell you something about the psychology of plastic surgery. People come in and say, I want a small enhancement, then show me pictures of huge breasts. People say to me,
I just want to look like myself, but
people say, I want to, yeah, people say to me, I want to look, I don't want anyone to know, but I want people to tell.
I don't want to look tired anymore.
Yeah, like
I want to feel like everybody
wants to have a dramatic change.
Because everyone wants to think they were cute to begin with.
Everybody wants everybody wants a dramatic change, but they just don't want it to look bizarre. And the key is
bizarre is the key word right there.
No, but now we say it. It's funny.
There's a lot of bizarre within 5 blocks of this place.
Because we push the envelope and people don't know anything about it. I always use the analogy of, here's a perfect analogy, and I'll end with this. It's like cooking. So what ends up happening is you go in, you love goulash, and you end up, my wife's Russian. So you end up.
I actually do love goulash.
You end up having goulash, and you realize that, oh my God, this goulash is so salty. So immediately, if you're not intelligent and if you've never had good goulash, you either assume that goulash tastes like crap, or better worse, you think salt is a disaster in food. When in reality, the only issue at hand is there's a terrible chef. Salt is amazing when used appropriately, and goulash tastes fantastic when it's cooked well.
Agreed.
That's how I end.
Okay. I agree on all of those points. This is yet another episode of Plastic Surgery Uncensored with Dr. Roddy Raban. I'm Monique Marvez.